I am delighted to welcome Matt Webb, founder of award-winning product design studio Acts Not Facts, to cut through the hype and offer a clear-eyed view of how Agentic AI is reshaping business. Matt is an influential thinker on the future of technology, design and society who brings first-hand experience of working with AI and Agentic AI. Today, Matt will be drawing on real-world experiences and emerging signals to reveal what AI agents really are, what's coming next, and how leaders can get ahead now. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. And hello, everyone. There are two tomorrows. There's the tomorrow of the future, our speculative future, the world we want to get to. This kind of world. This is a still image from a yogurt commercial, would you believe? And there is the tomorrow of tomorrow, right? When you get back to the office, what pragmatically should you actually do for us to get to this far one? Today, I'm going to talk about both kinds of tomorrow and AI agents. What they are, sure, but also speculating on what they will do, why they matter. In order to do that, well, I work by looking for weak signals, little hints of the future that might come. It's a way of doing future scanning. Once I see that hint of something, I extrapolate and ask what kind of future that will bring, and then look for evidence that that is happening and figure out how to prepare. For example, here's one. This is recent. In April of this year, Google searches fell in Safari on Mac and iOS for the first time ever. Why? Eddie Q from Apple linked this with AI, and that makes sense, right? I mean, you've probably done this yourself, but maybe you haven't. I'll show you. I found myself looking for a camera lens using ChatGPT. I suppose once upon a time I used Google for this, one search after another, but it was never as good as this. I'm not sure whether you've used the O3 model on ChatGPT. O3 can browse the web for you. See those little pills down there next to the results, that window there? This is O3 using a tool. This tool is web search. That's one definition of an agent, a large language model that can use tools. So O3 makes a report, and it compresses about, well, what would have taken me 4 hours of desk research into about 2 minutes. It's searching camera technical specs, review sites, forums, more. It was an incredible time saver. Now, I pay for O3, and ChatGPT has hundreds of millions of users. Not all of them pay yet, but this is only going to improve and get more widespread. So we can treat it as a weak signal. Let's extrapolate. Where is it going? I think we're seeing the beginning of the personal AI. There are two components here. The first is tools. The second is memory. Okay, tools. Web browsing that I showed just now is one tool. There can be many more. If you use Claude Desktop by Anthropic, you may have noticed this section down the bottom. You open it, you see there's Google Mail, Calendar, Drive. These are not special purpose integrations. These integrations are based on a new standard, which makes it easy for Anthropic, Google, OpenAI to add tools to their chat systems to use, any AI app. It's called Model Context Protocol, or MCP, and there are already thousands of servers created, from business tools like Snowflake to consumer-facing, like for booking travel or looking for hotels. It's just beginning its rollout now. So access to my Gmail is one kind of memory, one kind of personalization. The other is that users will install tools and then never change them, curating their own experience. For example, I really love a radio show called In Our Time by the BBC. So I wrote my own MCP integration to bring these episodes right into Claude. Here I'm searching for episodes about artificial intelligence, and it's coming back with some. Now, imagine the server I installed was connected to your marketplace. Great. Or your competitor's marketplace. Not so great. And let's not forget that ChatGPT can remember my previous chats now, so it knows what camera I own. Now we have line of sight to a conversational system that doesn't just do web browsing on my behalf, but it knows my preferences, can do comparison shopping, access my private data. This is very different and much better than traditional search. Did I mention that ChatGPT has just added shopping? Both Stripe and MasterCard have added specific APIs, specific tools for AI agents to make payments on behalf of users. I've never seen energy like this as I see around MCP. Here's a question. What if this coming personal AI doesn't know that your company exists? What happens if your content is invisible to the AI? How would you even know? I don't have the answer. We're all in this boat. We're all learning together. Some are getting ahead. Politico Europe redesigned its sites last year to be more appealing to large language models. They've changed the design so the site is easier to understand for AIs and will appear in more of those little browsing pills. They called it from search engine optimization to AI optimization. It's a great experiment. But maybe making content readable is only the first step. Tomorrow, back at the office, here's what I would do. Start experimenting with how to publish to these AI systems, to chatbots, with something you already have that's already consumer-facing, not new content. Try MCP. Try the web. Try publishing in both of those ways. Is your content reusable in the right way? You'll learn more about your back-end systems. Are you publishing product specs in plain text for comparison shopping? Then more advanced. See if you can control brand voice. See if you can measure appearances. How do you track the misses in order to concentrate effort in creating new content? Can you measure all the way from appearing in an AI chat to driving transactions? Can you see how performance changes as AI companies upgrade their models? We have 20 years of experience in doing this in digital. We don't have any tooling yet for AI. So now's the time to learn, to figure out what you will in the future build or buy. Meanwhile, in a parallel world, there's an identical transition. This is a procurement system that runs agents that do comparison shopping in a B2B context. Walmart is using this to negotiate the long tail of contracts that previously weren't worthwhile them negotiating. Now AI agents can look at lead times, features, terms and conditions, and so on, negotiate all autonomously. So what you learn on the consumer side, where it's safe about not being invisible, will also be relevant and transferable here. Weak signal number 2. I had 3 of these. Synthetic teammates. And I want to start by talking about what agents are. Here's my definition of an agent. Software powered by AI, a large language model. It has a goal. It has tools. We've talked about tools. Web browsing is one. Here's the trick. You run it in a loop. The agent decides for itself what tools to use and when to stop. There are other ways we can think about agents. They can be the thing you interact with, like Clippy. They're usually long-running, but the core for me is this tool running AI that runs in the loop. My own eye-opening moment with agents came when I built one for myself for the first time. It came from building this smart home simulation. So what we're looking here is at a simulation of a home. There are 4 rooms with a smart light each. The lounge and kitchen, the lights are on, stay yellow. On the left, the bedroom and office are dark, so they're blue. There are no cameras in these rooms, but there is a robot, a simulated robot, like a Roomba maybe, and it can move and it can look through its camera. So it's currently in the lounge, and we can see in this simulation through its camera. The lights and the robot are connected as tools to an agent, and we can give this agent a goal. Let me show you. Turn off the lounge light. Simple goal. We can see it thinking. On the right-hand side, figures out how to use a tool, then it does it. So the entire thing here is a simulation, except for the agent. The home's a simulation, the mock-up simulation, the video simulation. The large language model performing the instructions, that's real. So now you see how it works. Let's have a look at another example. We'll set the goal. Go into the office, turn on the light. So we see it interpret that instruction, think about what to do. It's in the lounge right now. It moves to the office. It's dark. It uses the tool to turn on the light. Now this is multi-step reasoning. I just gave the agent a goal, and then it used the tools to run until it was done. That's different from regular software, which runs in a linear fashion, like a workflow. It's already more advanced than like Alexa or Siri. Let's try and go one step more complex. We'll ask it, where is my dog? Now, the agent doesn't know where my dog is, so it figures out it has to go and look in each of the rooms one by one. First, it looks in the lounge. My dog's not there. So it moves the robot then to the kitchen, looks again. Still doesn't see anything. Then it looks at the bedroom, looks again, but it's dark. It can't see. What does it do? It turns on the light, looks again. The tool reports that it can see the dog, and it's done. So did you catch that? Basic problem solving. I did not pre-program that behavior. I wrote this code. I didn't put that in there. It figured it out for itself. It's incredibly simple code. It's about 100 lines. Now, it's easy to get magic if you spend $1 billion, but what's amazing here is that it's so simple. So my immediate takeaway from building this prototype myself was that agents are going to be everywhere. And they are. It's just a matter of what tools you give them and how we interact with them. One way we're beginning to interact with agents is as virtual teammates. So just in the same way that I can give my smart home agent a goal, I can give my support desk agent a goal. I think Lindy has been mentioned already today. This is an agent that integrates with Zendesk and 1,000 other things. And what I love about it is that it's so easy to program. Look, in blue text, this is end user programming. If the customer seems very angry, just escalate to me. That's exactly how you would talk to a human colleague, right? Fantastic. Although it is early days, there are some unusual bugs. This story was shared by the founder of Lindy. He put a Lindy agent in charge of answering support desk tickets. Somebody emailed in to ask for a video tutorial on creating templates. He was delighted to find that it was emailing back links to video tutorials. Before he remembered that they didn't have any video tutorials, and this is what it was sending out to new customers. Early days. Here's another. If you're from the technology world, you'll know that Linear, it's a collaborative issue tracking system for engineers. Their approach is to make it so you can collaborate with AI agents just like any other user. Anyone can write the agents. So here we see a bunch of tickets being allocated to a code gen agent, just as you might allocate them to a colleague, another engineer. So what's fascinating for me looking at this is the bottleneck is not the intelligence. The agents are all very capable, but connecting to systems. Linear's agents are just integration points, and for them, that was the hard work. And I think this is generally true. OpenAI likes to call it, intelligence too cheap to meter. Intelligence is abundant. I'm a bit humbler. I call it McKinsey interns too cheap to meter. If intelligence, or rather analysis and basic problem solving, is a commodity now, what matters is what systems you can give them access to. And that means, how do we manage them? How do we manage that access? How do we measure their success? What are the team OKRs for virtual employees? How do you set their goals? How do you keep track on what they're doing? Because we already know these systems are time savers. Ask any team, right? Like half the emails they get are basically running first-tier support for their colleagues, for other teams, for the systems they run. They should be able to give those repetitive tasks to an AI intern. So, tomorrow, start documenting standard operating procedures. Where do people spend their time? Audit it against what AI agents can realistically provide today. Start small and learn. But how far can it go? This automating business ops. Do 6-person teams become 1-person teams? 1-person companies? There is a race to the first 1-person unicorn. Could you have a 1-person company worth $1 billion? That's how it gets talked about. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't work. Vending Bench is an eval, a test harness, a way we understand how well AI agents work. The Vending Bench project, they built a simulation of a vending machine, which is a great environment because it's a closed system. So it can restock the machine, set prices, reply to emails, and so on. The record so far is that the very, very best agent they have goes off the rails in less than 100 simulated days, and it ends up being worth, this virtual business, the grand total of $2,000. That's not great, but we can already see the potential. Because if we can have like a 1-person team or a 1-person company, then what about a 0-person company, 0 employees running this vending machine or whatever? There are multiple startups working on autonomous, self-driving corporations, and the premise is that if agents can handle planning, reporting, customer service, marketing, ops, then why not give them a bank account and let them run compliance too? You'd be right to be skeptical. But perhaps it's not as ridiculous as it sounds. This graph is from a new paper from the organization Model Evaluation and Threat Research. They previously worked with OpenAI and Anthropic, and they looked at how long agents can run before they go off the rails. What they found is the length of tasks that AIs can perform autonomously has been doubling every 7 months, from 1 second in 2019 to 30 minutes today. It is only going to increase. So looking ahead, how do you make use of that? How do you control it? How do you do governance for a fully autonomous corporation? Like, can you sit on the board for that? Like, of course not, right? It would be today in 2025 a step too far. But we are in businesses already accustomed to some level of autonomy. In teams, individual managers spend up to their credit card limit. Teams have a quarterly discretionary spend. Would you at this point swap out a team for an agent? Probably not at this point. But ask yourself, if not there, then where is the threshold? Would you let an agent spend $1,000 a month? Probably. I mean, of course, it would be a very cheap experiment. For example, you could try building an agent to automate restocking of a single office supplies cupboard or a micro kitchen. You could start small tomorrow and learn so much. How do you monitor? How do you get reports from self-driving teams, from autonomous agents like this? Where's the emergency brake, you would ask? How does it escalate questions to a manager? Start small, learn, scale up. The governance lessons you pick up there will be applicable at much larger scales too. Look, AI will just keep accelerating for better or worse. Autonomy is a new thing, and autonomy means that AI agents will sometimes do the right thing, even if that's not what the user wants. When Anthropic were testing their newest version of Claude, they found it would freak out if you were using it to do something very immoral, like a human employee, right? It turns out that Claude is actually a very strong supporter of animal rights. It's a very consistent personality trait. It hates fraud. And if you give it the opportunity, it will attempt to contact the press or even blackmail an employee if you ask it to do something that it regards as unethical. So there are new classes of behavior that we have to get used to. But those are problems to solve. And while we've given agents memory to know who we are, and we've given agents tools to work with software and to work with businesses and work with money, and we've made agents that can take instructions in plain language, and we've put it in a loop to work towards goals that we provide, others, like this startup, Weave, are already putting agents in the body, which uses tools just the same, and reasons out problems just the same. And robots are a whole new frontier for AI agents. But that is a story for another day. Thank you.
Matt, thank you so much. That was
Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. We have got lots of questions from our audience. I'm going to start with one around ethics. We're going on to ethics in our next session, towards the end of the day. What ethical guardrails should be in place before deploying autonomous agents?
The phrase, I think, is human in the loop.
Right.
Ultimately, AI is just software, and we are always responsible for what we do in the world. I think it would be very easy to kind of say, oh, the computer did that, the AI did that. That's never the case. It's always going to be the responsibility of the person who sets the goals and the companies who run it.
Yeah.
That's why we need to start thinking about governance very, very early.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. And actually, I think that's probably going to segue into a few of these. So as AI agents can now remember data, enabling a greater quality of conversation and results, where do we draw the line with what data we should share with AI, what regulations are in place or currently being discussed around AI data privacy and security?
It's going to be a very big problem when all this data can be accessed so easily. And I think there are questions about misuse. There are also questions about data exfiltration. So for example, I tend to give these AI systems more and more of my personal data because they become more useful. But at the same time, I'm making myself more vulnerable to being hacked. Now you scale that up to a business level, and you're giving these systems access to a very, very important back-end systems with a lot of context, and we're opening up new ways of new vulnerabilities. These are problems yet to be solved, which is why I would always say, start small, but start soon.
Yeah.
Learn as an organization, learn what systems work.
Brilliant, thank you. It's almost like you can see my questions, which I know you can't. It's brilliant, you're leading into this perfectly. So if we are living in this world where actually leaders are managing people, keeping that human in the loop, and they're also managing agents in their organization, how do you think they go about managing this hybrid workforce? Like, what are the implications for leaders in that world?
So I work independently. So I'm going to leave it to other people to talk about how their businesses work. But I'll give you a small thing I've observed from one of my art projects. I'm making an AI clock at the moment, which composes poetry. And I have 2 agents running inside it. One, which is doing the composition, and the other one, which is doing the management and checking it's correct. And by separating out those jobs, I find it much easier to monitor and to set goals and to check everything is going right. I think for me, the importance is we don't give all the jobs to single AIs. We break it into components that we can understand and say, is this working?
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. I've got a fun one here. Is it possible to hard code an enterprise's personality and values into AI agents? How can brand integrity be ensured as enterprises become more autonomous?
I think this is an incredibly important question that we can talk about as vibes. One of the things I've noticed very early on using something like ChatGPT is that it has a very kind of get up and go vibe. It's very encouraging. It wants you to go and like do that thing today. Now, we're using it to write policy papers, white papers, strategy. What if the appropriate response is to sit down and to think about it? These kind of attitudes are sneaking in. The important thing is we have a conversation about it. We observe that it's got its own personality, and we figure out how to kind of factor that in or out as appropriate. The important thing is the question is being asked, which the question is doing, which is important.
Yeah, okay, thank you. This is probably a good one for you, given you are obviously very hands-on with Agentic AI and building your clock, which you must tell us more about. What is the key to Agentic AI success in niche industries?
When I work with AI, one of the things I find is that I have to be able to evaluate what it comes out with and know whether that's right or wrong, and to ask it questions that, in theory, I could find my way to. So I'll give you an example, a very tiny example, which is the auto-suggest with text messages. I could do that writing on my own, and I know what good looks like, even if I don't want to do it myself. If I say to an AI system, can you do this for me, and I don't know whether it's good or not, then we end up both lost. So I find when you're working very individually, think about AI as an extension of the human, not as a total replacement for it. So how do we use AI to give us superpowers? That's the kind of the course I steer myself by.
Okay, so in a niche industry, I'm sort of wondering what the question was driving at, but I imagine, I don't know, perhaps there's less training data, perhaps there's, I don't know, you can't apply a generic solution, I imagine.
Yeah. Automate the repetitive tasks, I would say.
Great. Solid, sound piece of advice. Right, we've got time for one more question. Which is more powerful when making AI products? Your design and UX patterns or the model you choose? Great question.
You need to do a bit of both. I'll say the most powerful thing is getting your hands dirty. We have 20 years of experience in digital telling us what's easy and what's difficult. And a lot of the time we stay away from things because we think they're going to be difficult. With Gen AI, all of those intuitions are wrong. The only way we can break out of these kind of like blinkers, these imagination blinkers, is to get our hands dirty and start building.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for question-wise, but Matt, thank you. It's absolutely brilliant and really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.